Welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to share with you my Abyss Actors deck profile. Now Abyss Actors is a really fun deck that is an interesting OTK steel deck, which I like very much, as you're going to see in the profile itself. It's a little bit long because I'm trying to explain all of the applications as usual for anybody that is new, but if you need to, of course, there is the list on the side and you're able to ask me questions in the comments and I will always try to answer. But before we'll jump right into the video itself, I'm going to say the usual thing. Obviously, if you want to, help the channel, see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you enjoyed the video, give a like, and let me know, like I said in the comments, what do you think. Also, I would like to thank you all for 3,300 subscribers, which this 100 was super fast, like lightning fast. I think it took like a week to get from 3,200 to 3,300, or like a week and a half, which is insane. So thank you all so much, guys, but without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so jumping right into the Abyss Actor list, we're going to start things off with your 9, I guess, starters of the deck, which are the 3 copies of Madonna, 3 copies of Curtain Raiser, and 3 copies of Abyss Actors Extras. Now, the entire idea of the deck, basically, is to try to OTK your opponent using your cards. Now, of course, you do have ways to go first if you have to, but you want to try to OTK your opponent. That's kind of like, in my opinion, the goal of the deck. You're able to use your cards, which are kind of able to deal very well with hand traps at the very least, and essentially, like, break your opponent's board, steal their stuff, and doing things, and then be able to OTK them, which is kind of like, I think, the main goal. And these are the 9 most important cards in the deck, in my opinion, because they are able to start your entire engine, sometimes with an additional card included with them, but it's still very important. Now, in the case of extras, this card allowing you to special summon it from the scales if your opponent controls a monster, which is pretty cool. It's a free special summon. But the most important thing about this card is that this is 3 scales of everything you want. You're able to tribute this monster, lock yourself into Abyss Actors, and then put any skill that you want to directly from the deck except extras, and also lock yourself for the rest of the turn to not use extras effect in the scale. So do keep that in mind, that if you have 2 extras, I recommend to normal summon one of the extras, special summon the other one if you're able to, and then lock yourself out of the scales, because otherwise you'll not be able to get the effect. And it's also really nice because, yes, you do lock yourself into Abyss Actors, but Abyss Actors like to play most of the time pure, although we have different tools in the extra deck that are pretty useful. Then we have Curtain Raiser, which is a pretty known pendulum monster. That's the entire purpose that a lot of people think it have, is putting itself in the scale and special summon it, and because you're playing in the Abyss Actors, some people think that you can cut this to 2 or 1. However, I do disagree about this, because this card is actually really good in the deck for multiple reasons. The first thing first is that if it's the only monsters that you have, it's still 2200 beat stick, which in simplified game states is absolutely amazing. And the second thing is that once per turn, as a soft once per turn, you're able to send any Abyss script directly from your deck to the graveyard, and then add an Abyss Actor from your extra deck to your hand, which giving yourself more recursion and better plays for pendulum summoning as well as putting the scripts that you want from the deck into the graveyard, which is really cool. And it just gives you the ability to kind of like, for example, like, put this in scale, put another card in scale, whatever, like link them off, and then do something, let's say that. And then you summon this with a pendulum summon, and you're able to get the card that you wanted back. It's kind of an interesting thing with this one. Sometimes people consider this not to be the best thing in the world, but I think like it's an interesting kind of semi-starter that I think is really important. However, the best card out of the bunch, in my opinion, is Madonna. Although Madonna have this annoying effect that she locks you not only to Abyss Actors, but to Abyss Actor pendulum monsters, so that's kind of clash with your extra deck Link monster. But the point is, you pay 1,000 and you get any Abyss Actor card, or should I say monster that you want, except herself, which sometimes you have to pay this, price of only summoning Pendulum Abyss Actor monsters for the rest of the turn. Sometimes you have to do that. It's a shame, but sometimes, like I said, you have to do that. However, she also have a very strong effect on the field, which is if an Abyss Crypt spell card activates effect, she's able to summon a level 4 or lower Abyss Actor from the deck, but you bounce it to the end during the end phase, but it doesn't really matter if you're trying to OTK. But the point is, you can get any card that you wanted from your deck, which is really cool, except for herself and a Superstar. All of your other monsters are pretty much fair game, as you will see. And then the last thing is that she's able to get an 100 attack for each Abyss Crypt currently in your graveyard. It doesn't have to be different names, so she can become like, 2000, 2100, which is pretty nice. She also kind of become kind of like sometimes a hand trap with pendulums, but she's not really used for that effect. Trust me. Also, the search effect only lock you for the rest of the turn, it's not for the turn, so it's not really that bad. Sometimes you just use it after you do your normal plays, and you're able to go on from there. But that does it for the consistency Abyss Actors, which I felt I need to explain. Then for the rest, 3 Superstar, 3 Wild Hope, 3 Comic Relief, the 1 Twinkle Little Star, and then the 1 Funky Comedian. These are, in my opinion, the 11 other important Abyss Actor monsters. Superstar is a very, very cool one. In the scale, it has also sometimes an effect because of the Link monster. You're able to use the effect in the scale a lot more, which is basically to contribute any Abyss Actor, and then you're able to add from your graveyard to your hand any Abyss script back to your hand, so it'll help you for recovery later, or with things like, Curtain Raiser, which is pretty cool. It's also have another nice effect that when it's like normal or special summon, your opponent cannot activate a spell or trap effect to negate the summon, which is really cool. So you're like able to force them not to activate any spell or traps, which is very, very nice. So you're able to go through some particular, I guess, some traps. I don't think it works so much against Solemn, because Solemn is just stops the summon altogether, but I think everything else it's able to deal with it. And then it's also, as a soft once per turn, able to set an Abyss script directly from your deck to your side of the field, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. You don't really care about it that much, because most of the time you're just going to use the Abyss script regardless, so that's pretty cool. Then we have Wild Hope, which Wild Hope is 3 scales of everything. Basically, if you open up with this and any Abyss Actor, you're able to turn the other Abyss Actor scale into a scale 9, but you lock yourself into Abyss Actors for the rest of the turn, which is kind of the point. But it doesn't really matter, because, for example, let's say you have Wild Hope and a Mellow Madonna, you are able to turn the Mellow Madonna scale 0 into a scale 9, which is pretty cool, so that is very, very helpful. The other thing is that if this card gets destroyed, which is not commonly going to happen, you are able to grab any Abyss Actor card that you want beside itself, and then it's also getting 100 attack for each Abyss Actor you control with different name, including itself, so it can become up to 2200, which is pretty nice. But mostly it's used for its scale effect, which is making your scales very, very good, and I like it quite a lot. Then we have 3 Comic Relief. Comic Relief is the card that kind of changed the dynamic of the deck originally, because this card is just really, really cool. It's kind of like a Snatch Steal card. In the scale, it's able to switch an Abyss Actor monster, or should I say Quitter Swap effect. You're able to switch an Abyss Actor, Pendulum monster, and a monster your opponent control, take control of that opponent monster, give your monster to the opponent, and then you pop this card, which is pretty nice, because it also works really, really well with this other effect. If you have 2 of them, is that if this card control is switched, you're able to force the opponent to basically pop your own set cards. So if you have an Abyss Crypt set, you're able to force your opponent to pop it and then activate its secondary effect, which are the good effects. So if you have 2 of these, it also works even if you don't have another Pendulum monster in the extra deck, because this becomes the Pendulum monster that you need in the extra deck, which is pretty cool. Also, during the standby phase, it can switch control during your standby phase to your opponent, but it's kind of like you're waiting for it too much, so for the most part, you're just trying to get 2 of these, switch the one control with the one in the scale, and then get the effect that you want to. And then for the last 2, Twinkle Little Star and Funky Comedian, the reason why I run these 2 is A, because they're high scales, and secondly, they're also helping you in certain situations. Twinkle Little Star is really helpful with fantasy magic, because if you are dealing with some annoying monsters that are pretty big and annoying to deal with, or you're not able to get rid of them from battle or something, you're able to attack 3 times into them and then get rid of them with things like fantasy magic and stuff like that, or you're able to make your big monsters that you want to, for example, able to attack your opponent monster multiple times and only attack with that, which is sometimes all you need for the OTK. And then by itself, it can also be, like I said, kind of like attack 3 times by itself once on the field. It cannot be destroyed by battle, which is also pretty nice. But the entire idea is, it's a high scale, it'll help you to deal with some particular monsters. But it's good that you are able to sometimes normal summon it. Especially because it's not destructible by battle, so fantasy magic sometimes even works better with this. And then Funky Comedian is also a pretty interesting one, because it's a high scale. Originally, I actually run Evil Heal, but I came to the conclusion that I like Funky Comedian more. First and foremost, Funky Comedian, in the scale, able to let you tribute an Abyss Actor monster, and make your other Abyss Actor monster, you have gain attack equal to it, which is pretty cool. So you can have two superstars, tribute one of the superstars, and make the superstar, the second one that you targeted, into 5,000, which is pretty nice. But it's also very, very cool because the fact that it helps you deal with monsters and doesn't really depend on your opponent having monsters that are not targetable. So that's why I also like this card. It's also in the monster zone, also have a nice effect, which is the fact that it's gain 300 attack for each Abyss Actor monster you control, and then you can target one monster you control, it's gain attack equal to it, like Abyss Actor monster, gain attack equal to it, but this cannot attack. So you can just do that and then tribute this when in effect, for example, for Abyss Tainment, which is one of your spells. But that does it for the Abyss Actor monsters. Unfortunately, I took a lot of time explaining these because these are very, very important. Now we'll move on into the hand traps, which are three: double Ash, double Effect Veiler, and double Draw. Can be any hand traps you wish. These are the 6 that I decided to go with. I don't think I need to explain these this much. But that does it for the monsters. 26 monsters from me. Now we'll move on into the spells. And for the spells, we first start with the Abyss scripts, which are double Rise of the Abyss King, double Abyss Tainment, and 1 Fantasy Magic. This is the only lineup of Abyss scripts I think you need. Technically, I wanted to run a third Rise of the Abyss King, but I didn't really find the space. Basically, these are the most important ones this format and the best ones. Like I explained before, Fantasy Magic, if you're not able to destroy the monster by battle, it's let you the ability to just bounce it, which is pretty cool. It's also when it gets destroyed by its set, when it's set, when you have a Abyss Actor Pendulum monster in your extra deck, so, you know, if you switch the effect of, with Funky Comedian, whatever his name is, Comedian, you're able to just pop this and then you're able to spin any card your opponent wants to. Unfortunately, it does target, but it's an effect that sometimes come up, most of the time not going to happen. The effect that you pop a set, most of the time that's going to happen, and mostly the part of your OTK, is Abyss Tainment, because Abyss Tainment, yeah, I think that's the name. Basically, the card effect is as following. If it's set and it's get like destroyed and you have an Abyss Actor monster by opponent card effect and you have an Abyss Actor monster in your extra deck, like a Pendulum monster face up, you're able to summon any number of Abyss Actor monsters from your main deck. Basically, you're able to summon your entire superstar lineup if you don't have them. You're able to summon a second copy of Melomadonna if you have it on the field already. Like, you're able to fill your entire board with additional Abyss Actors, which is also really cool. The other point is that if this card have the effect of twice per turn to help you set back Abyss scripts by tributing an Abyss Actor's monsters, which is pretty nice, so that is also very, very cool. And then we have Rise of the Abyss King, which is an absolutely ridiculous card. If you control a level 7 or higher Abyss Actor monster, your opponent cannot negate or respond to this effect. And it lets you to pop cards on the field up to the cards that you, like, you know, Abyss Actors with different names, attack positions that you control with different names. So you're able to basically sometimes pop up to 6 cards to your opponent. It's also, I think, to be exact number, so no, it's up to the number, sorry, I thought it was like the exact number. So you're able to pop your opponent's entire board, which is pretty cool. And then when this set card dies with an opponent card effect, you are able to grab any 2 Abyss Actors or Abyss scripts from your deck to your hand except themselves. So this card is really, really cool. You're able to just do a lot of things with it. It's sometimes kind of like a weird card that you have to use with Wild Hope. Put a Wild Hope on the field, use your normal summon, pop it with an Abyss Actor, Rise of the Abyss script, Rise of the Abyss King, and then go off from there. But that does it for the Abyss scripts. Unfortunately, I don't run any of the field spell. I think the field spell doesn't really do enough for the deck. Because it's just like, it's a little bit too slow and it requires you to control an Abyss Actor Pendulum monster, so that's why I didn't really like it that much. But if you want to, definitely you can run it up. I would really like a card that just set it directly from your deck. I think that will make the card quite perfect. But for now, it's not really the best thing in the world. But for the rest of the spells, we have 3 Allure Darkness, 3 Tactic Talents, which I have to proxy, unfortunately, and then 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Cold by the Grave, and 1 Cosmic Cyclone for the rest of my spells. Now, I'm going to explain these pretty much. Allure Darkness and Triple Tactic Talents, this is the reason why I run 3 Allure Darkness instead of Extravagance or Desires, because I want my 3 Tactic Talents. Desires is also kind of like okay, but my opponent will most of the time try to like, you know, negate it. In Allure, they don't really do that, so I don't really care that much by using Allure. And your entire deck, like, you know, 20 monsters of your deck out of 26 are dark, so it's not really the end of the world. Again, if you want Desires, that's completely fine. And if you want Extravagance and cut this, that's also completely fine. But I felt like Free Tactic Talents have so much synergy in the deck, not because of the fact that it's also able to draw you 2 cards, but because of the fact that this deck loves to steal stuff, so I've also felt like it's in theme. So 3 Tactic Talents just like felt so good going second, steal opponent monsters, maybe spin a card if you have to going first, and if my opponent forced to, I'm getting Pot of Greed, which is really good, so I felt like 3 Tactic Talents is amazing in this deck. And like I said, in theme, I am going to try to get it once the Megatins will be out, which I think is supposed to be today. But if like you're not able to afford this, you can run any other hand trap of your choice. And then for these are for the 2 cards that I have for going first. Coldblade of Grave is just dealing, like, could be used as a trap as well. And also Instant Fusion is also good for helping you break board because they also run the Relinquished. Not Relinquished, Thousand Eyes Restrict, and Millennium Eyes Restrict, so that's also kind of cool. And then Cosmic Cyclone is just helping me deal with things like Imperial Order, which I have to deal with them priority instead of Harpy Feather Duster. Most of the cards, like, Floodgates doesn't really stop this deck that much, but things like Imperial Order are just a big problem, so I wanted to deal with them regardless. But that does it for the main deck. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. And for the extra deck, well, the most important card in the extra deck is the triple copies of Abyss Actor Hyper Director. This card is so important, and you have to run 3 of this card. In whatever version you run, with Extravagance, without Extravagance, whatever. You have to run 3 of this because there are so many games that I went to all 3 of them. That I'm not able to OTK my opponent, I'm still able to put enough pressure, but I need the 3rd copy. And sometimes you just even link 1, get rid of it somehow for something else, and then you summon the 2nd one, and that's how you do things. So it's really important to have 3 of these. Its effect, honestly, is amazing. You're able to pull any Pendulum monster from your scale, and then put any Abyss Actor from your extra deck or deck into the scale with a different name. It does also lock you for Abyss Actors for the rest of the turn, but it's still an amazing card with an amazing effect, and there's really nothing to say about that. It's an amazing card. Then, the other package is this package that I like to call the Steel Package, which is all of these 5 cards. I love these cards so much in the deck. Like I said, Millennium Eyes Restrict is for going second. Anima is to follow up if you're able to restrict, link it to an Anima, take an opponent monster, then normal summon something if you have to, and then link off to some, like to Geomancer or whatever you want to, and then steal another monster if you're able to. It's absolutely ridiculous. Geomancer is able to switch monsters, which is also really good with Comic Relief, so that's also pretty nice. And Goddess is for going first to kill decks, and again, still opponent monsters, so that's kind of fun. And Millennium Eyes is just because I can put this, I have a lot of space in the extra deck, so I'm putting this for going first. I love this package so much. It's absolutely hilarious. And then for the rest of the cards, for the rest of the links, IP, Unicorn, Avermax. Avermax is, again, for some offhands that I sometimes just need to go Avermax and sit on it. Sometimes you are able to do that, which is kind of cool. And sometimes it also helps you to OTK in different cases, so that's also pretty nice. Unicorn is for generic removal, and IP is for your generic link to monsters that you have 2 monsters on the field with like a Curtain Raiser and another one. You link them off into this, and then you get your 2 arrows that you need for Pendulum Summoning, which is pretty nice. And then for Xyz, Abyss Dweller, Raider's Knight, Baguski, and Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon. Again, another card that help you OTK if you're not locked into Abyss Actors. And then these 2 cards are just your 2, well, dealing with annoying decks kind of cards. Baguska is just amazing most of the time in this format, except, I guess, Tri-Brigades. I believe, like, Tri-Brigade is the only thing that I have a hard time if I'm summoning Baguska, maybe also Salamangreats, but mostly, against non-link decks, this is what you're going to summon, and also non-graveyard-centric decks, and then Abyss Dweller is against everything else, so that's also pretty cool. And this is kind of like your OTK 2 level force. You go into this, you attack your opponent, and they cannot do anything with their face-up monsters, and you just OTK them, which is pretty cool. So it's also under 5 summons from Nibiru, which is also pretty nice. But that's pretty much does it for the extra deck and does it for the deck profile. Now, I kind of unfortunately took a little bit more time than I wanted to, because these cards need a lot of explanations, because they have a lot of text, especially things like Mellow Madonna, but it's still a really cool deck. If you have the cards, they're not really expensive, except for maybe Tactic Talents, which you can switch around for something else for now. But the deck is really fun, stealing the opponent cards is really cool, and I enjoy it quite a bit. But that's, like I said, it for the deck profile. Let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next deck choices, we have the 3 returning choices from last week, which are Mutants, Spirals, and Toad, basically, or Paleozoic, whatever you like to call it. Toad, Paleo, I guess Frog Paleo. These are the 3 options I'm going to present for you from last week, and the 4th and final option is an option that I'm not 100% sure about, but because of the latest ban list and because I just want to challenge myself, I want to throw pure Lunalights. Now, of course, if you want me to do Tri-Brigade Lunalights, we'll have to wait a little bit until I order the cards from the Megatons for Tri-Brigades, if I will ever want that engine. I think I do, for the Lyrlusk stuff. But, like I said, yeah, this is the other option that we have. We have, you know, the pure Lunalight essence of the deck. If you want me to do that, that will be the final option. And Lunalight is very challenging, so that's going to be quite interesting. But that's pretty much does it for the video. Like I said, these are the four options. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Give a like if you enjoyed it 100%. And let me know in the comments down below, what do you think, what particular things you will change, and what particular things that you play in your deck. Because Abyss Actors is, again, not the most easiest deck to master, but it's still very, very fun. But that's pretty much it for me. I'll see you in the next video, everyone. Bye-bye.